Dictionaries in Python on today's episode. Welcome to Chyld Studios. Here are the objectives for today's episode. I'm going to show you how to define a dictionary, how to create and copy one, how to access elements, how to determine membership, how to add keys and values, how to delete items and clear the contents of a dictionary, how to get the keys, values, and items from a dictionary, how to loop over one, and how to perform dictionary comprehension. Now I'm going to be using my terminal to go through today's episode. The first thing is you can see right here I'm using Python version 3.6. This was installed via Anaconda. I'm going to be using the IPython REPL, so I'm going to go into IPython. So if you don't have this, you'll have to install Python and then you'll have to install IPython. So here I'm at my terminal, and I'm just going to go into the REPL. So I'm going to go ahead and start out and define what a dictionary is. What a dictionary is, it is a mapping of a key to a value. Like you could have someone's name and maybe their age. Like you could have someone's name Bob, for example, and maybe he's 25 years old. Or maybe it could be someone's social security number, or maybe their driver's license number, let's say 335. It's just maybe some ID that, like I said, could be social number, an ID, it could be a corporate ID, and then maybe the value associated with it is maybe this is a corporate ID, and maybe the value is their yearly salary or something. So so a dictionary is just a mapping from keys to values. And so anytime you need to do that mapping, obviously a dictionary is a perfect data structure for that. So first of all, after that explanation, I'm gonna now show you how to actually create a dictionary. So let's say I created a dictionary called D1, and like I said, it's a mapping from keys to values. So what if we did something simple like I want to map the letter A to the number 1, and I want to map the letter B to the number 2, for example. So how this works is you use the curlies right here. It opens and closes it, and then on the inside, this is the key, and then there's a colon, and then there's a value, and then there's so that this is one item, and then comma, here's another item. So this is a mapping. This item is a mapping from a key to a value, from a key to another value. So if I did D1, there's the item. I could do type on this, and it should tell me it's a dict. So in Python, they call the dictionary just a dict type. So that's how you can create a dictionary. There of course there are other ways of creating it, but that's like the simplest way. Now, what if I had a dictionary D1, and I wanted to make a copy? So I would say D2 equals D1.copy. And now I have D1 there, and then D2 is right there. So these are actually these objects, these dictionaries are in two separate locations in memory, which means if I were to delete something from one of these, if I were to delete any one of these items or change them somehow, then one of them wouldn't affect the other. So that's good, and that keeps your memory separated, your items separated in memory. Okay, so so we created a dictionary. We copied it. Now the next thing you might want to do is access different elements in the dictionary. So let's say I wanted to get at this A value here. So I would say D1 bracket A, like that. And what this syntax here is doing is D1 is the dictionary. I'm passing in this bracket syntax. This is like sort of like array, like how you would access an item in an array, but this is not an array or a list. It's a dictionary. So instead of passing in, basically what you pass in here is the key. So the key here, there are two keys in this dictionary, A and B. So I pass in the A key, and it will give me back the value of 1. If I said, hey, give me whatever is in B, it gives me a 2. So this dictionary has two things in it, and you can actually figure that out by typing in len of D1, and it says 2. So 2 means there are two things in it. Now, what if I wanted to add something onto D1? Well, you just say D1 and then use this bracket syntax here, and you can just give it another key. So let's say I said C. Well, let's just do this and hit enter and see what happens. Well, if I do that, it says key error C. What that means is that C is not a key in D1. It means it doesn't know. This dictionary says, I don't know what this C is, and so that's why you get a key error. But you can actually do this if you want to add a key. So let's say I want C to be 3. So you see this actually did work. Now if I do D1 now, you can see that A1, B2, that those were in there before. And now I added C3. So I added this key and this value. And then I could do another one if I wanted to. The key D, maybe he has a value of 4. And let me just clear the screen. Whoops. There we go. And so there's A, there's B, and then there's the C I just added, and D is right there. And once again, if I did length of D1, it'll say there are 4 because there are 4 items in this dictionary. Now, there's another thing you can do. Well, before I show you this one, I mentioned that if you said D1 A, that will get, what that does is it passes in, once again, it passes in the key A, and this is the value. But there's actually another way of getting a value out, and it's get. So get is just a function, and basically what you do is you call the function or the method on this dictionary, and you pass in the key, and it gives you the value. So this and this are the same. You can see you pass in keys and you get the value out. So this is a little bit of a smaller syntax. It's less to write. So most people tend to use this over this, but they both perform the same thing. So that's accessing keys in a dictionary. Now, what if you didn't know, what if you were looking for a certain key in a dictionary and you didn't know whether it was in there or not? Now, of course, you could do something like D1 dot or D1, like you could say, is the key Z in this dictionary? Of course, here you're going to get an error, but instead of doing that, what you could do is you could say, is the letter Z, this letter Z, is it in D1? And see here, you're not going to get an error. It just returns true, false. This basically says, is this letter Z, is this key inside this dictionary? And it says false, it's not. Now, what you can do is you can modify this expression with a not. And what this says is Z not in the dictionary? And that's true because Z is not in there. Now there is a key like A, B, C, and D are in there. So I could say, is A not in D? Of course that's false. Why is that false? Because A is actually in the dictionary. And that's true. So if you want to know whether something is actually in the dictionary or not, you can use in or not in if you want to do the negative of that. So this is how you check for membership in a dictionary. Now let's go back to D1. Now what if you wanted to delete this last key right here? All you have to do is say delete D1 and then pass in the key that you want to delete, D, like this. And now you can see that key is gone. So if you have a dictionary and you want to remove a key value pair, just remove the key, and then of course the value removes with it. Because if there's no key, the value doesn't have a point. There's no point in just having a value, or you can't have just a value. You must have a key and a value. So by deleting the key, it deletes the key and of course its value. Now what if you? Now I had this D2 dictionary from before I had copied it. What if I wanted to clear out all these items in this dictionary? Like, how would you do that? Well, there is a method called clear, and I can do that on D2 like this. And if you go clear, it actually removes all the items from a dictionary. So you can see D2, it had these 2 items, and now it has nothing. And D1 still has those items. Those were actually separate dictionaries. And you remember the reason those were separate was because I did a copy. And so these two things were living in separate parts of memory. So anyway, so that's how you can remove the delete, the del command is how you can delete one item from the dictionary, one key from the dictionary, and then clear removes all of them. Okay. Then I want to talk about, here's our D1 again. What if you wanted to know what all these keys were? Like, is there a way to just figure out what these keys are? Yeah, there's a function called keys, and it will tell you what just the keys are. And then there's a corresponding function called values. You run that, and it actually shows you what just the values are. So if you want to get a listing of just the keys, do keys, dot keys. If you want a listing of just the values, do dot values. And there's another one called items that actually returns a tuple. So this thing is a tuple here. This is a tuple. So it returns a tuple of keys and value. So here's a key tuple of a key and value, tuple of a key and value, tuple of a key and value. Now why this is useful is it's typically used in loops and for loops. So for example, if I did for, let's call this x, y in d1.items, like this, what I could do is I could print out do a dash on format, and I could say give me x and give me y, like that. And so so what happens here is when you say d1.items, that's this thing right here. And it's an array, basically it's an array of tuples. So these tuples are getting pulled apart. In the first part, the key goes into x, and then the value goes into y. Then the next key goes into x, and the next value goes into y. And then once you have those values, the x and the y, you can just use them inside your loop to do whatever you want. You could say, what is y squared, for example. And so there's the A, B, and C. Those are the original keys. And then there's the original values. Just each value is now squared. So instead of 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 4, 9. So anyway, this items thing, the reason it's useful, the dot items or the dot keys or the dot values, the reason they're useful is for looping purposes. If you want to loop over this dictionary and like do something with either the key or the value or both. The last thing I want to talk about is dictionary comprehension. So I have another video on lists and how to do list comprehension. Dictionaries have the same thing. Basically, a dictionary comprehension allows you to create a dictionary from very small syntax. So what it can do is you can do this these curly braces right here. Okay. Now, let's say, I'm going to leave this blank for a minute. Let's say I want to loop for, let's say, x in, and let's just put an array here. Let's put an array of numbers. Let's say 4, 5, and 6. So I have an array here. It's got 4, 5, and 6 in it. And this for loop, what it's going to do is it's going to pull out the 4 first, and then the 5 second, and then the 6 last. So what can I do with this temporary variable x? Well, I could come over here and just say, now this is a dictionary comprehension. So what that means is you have to actually provide some key and some value. Well, I want the key to be, let's say I want the key to be 4, 5, or 6, and maybe I want its value to be 4, 5, and 6. That's kind of weird, but you could actually do it. So if I did that, you can see here it created a dictionary with 3 items, this item, this item, and this item, and the keys and values for both of them are the same. So that's sort of strange. I mean, why would you do that? But you could do something slightly different. You could maybe make this first variable, this first x, a string. So now you have a dictionary where the 4 is a string, this is the key, and its value is the number 4. This 5 is a string and its value is a 5, and this is a string and its value is a 6. So the keys are strings and the values are integers. So that's kind of interesting. Then maybe for the values, instead of it just being x, you could say x to the 3rd power. right? X cubed. So what it's showing here is the keys are 4, 5, and 6 as a string, and the actual values are 64, 125, and 216, which those are just the cube of 4, 5, and 6. So you can see here with this syntax, I'm able to actually create different key value combinations. So anyway, this is a pretty it's actually a very powerful syntax in Python for quickly constructing dictionary objects. And yeah, once again, I could actually come over here and say like D3 equals that, and then D3, there it is. Maybe one final thing I could actually do to maybe make this a little bit better is I could say in enumerate, like that. And when you enumerate over an array, it actually gives you two values. It actually gives you an index and then some value. So instead of actually using x here, I could just use I, which is my index, just to show something different. So now if I did D3, you can see that it still has a 64, 125, 216, which is the cube of 4, 5, and 6, but the keys are actually 0, 1, and 2. So it took this array right here, and the first index was a 0, but it turned it into a string. It took the next index I, turned it into a string, which is this guy, and then it took this one, this 6, it went into I. Sorry. The 6, the index for this is 0, 1, 2. Then the 2 went into the I turned into a string, which is this right here, and then of course 6 cubed is 216. So once again, a very powerful syntax for quickly creating dictionaries. I tend to use this a lot. And yes. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching another episode, and I'll be doing some more on Python, and I'm going to have a series hopefully pretty soon on data science. Thank you.